lot of things are coming to the surface as we are in the middle of this eclipse season. But there will be clarity this week, or if you want to say this forecast. So the answers that you've been looking for will arrive. And not only that, the answers that we get, the clarity that we get, it will be positive in nature, and it will also allow for you to be able to see the bigger picture. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's good to have you all here again. This is an interesting week. I would say this is a positive week. Toward the end of the week, there could be some things here to pay attention to or to at least be aware of. But I would say all in all, this is a positive week as we're going through this eclipse season. And just to touch briefly on the transits that we're having this week, we're going to have the sun that's going to conjunct the South Node. We have the sun in Virgo that's going to conjunct the South Node in Virgo. We have Mercury as well that's going to conjunct that South Node in Virgo. As they build up to their kazmi, well, Mercury will conjunct the sun, and that's the clarity. That's the breakthrough, and that's the answers. But we'll also have the sun sextile Jupiter, and Mercury also as well sextiling Jupiter. And then this kazmi that is happening is very close to that sextile as well to Jupiter. So there's this buildup of a breakthrough of understanding and clarity when it comes to our lives at this time that's going to be able to show us the positivity in things, even the growth in things with the sextile to Jupiter in Cancer. And then we have Venus that's going to sextile Mars. Good in regards to relationships. Venus is catching up with Mars, right? Venus is coming to hang out with Mars. Got this Venus in Leo, Mars in Libra. This is very, very much so heavy emphasis on relationships. Leo deals with romance. Libra deals with relationships. And then we also have Venus that's going to trine Chiron in Aries, this Venus and Leo. So there's healing that can take place in our relationships with Venus, but also in regards to our relationships with ourselves, our relationships to things in our life. And then we're going to have also, though, that Mars opposed Chiron. And this is what I was talking about. Well, I don't know if I said it yet. But one thing to pay attention to is the only thing that could block the harmony and the connection, cooperation, creativity, pleasure, and joy is possibly your old wounded self. Or you can say ego with Chiron being in Aries. So we're going to touch more on this as we dive into the charts. But I think this week with that sun conjunct the South Node in Virgo, remember Virgo deals with the practical side of life. It deals with organization, management. It can deal with perfectionism. It can deal with duty, service, job, work, career, our reality. And so the sun conjuncting Virgo, it's a the sun in Virgo conjuncting that South Node, it's a day of, what is the South Node? The South Node deals with the past. And so the South Node, you can say K2, likes to drill deep down into the past. And so we're examining things on a very deep level. And there's this inner intensity going on in all of us, in our personal lives, but this inward focus of needing to let go of everything needing to be perfect. Not everything is going to be perfect, but I think this is the week where we can emotionally accept that not everything needs to be perfect for us to be able to grow and expand. It's about learning how we can do things better, Virgo, right? How we can do things better, that's what I've been saying. How we can do things better, organize things better, manage things better, create better routines for ourselves. We can learn how to do things better, but that sextile to Jupiter in Cancer is we can also learn how to emotionally accept and let go, because Jupiter is a planet that does deal with faith. It brings that trust and that positivity of everything's going to be all right. Even if things are super stressful or there's just a lot of catching up to do, or you feel overwhelmed, or even just burdened by life itself, this Sun, Mercury, kazmi buildup with the sextile to Jupiter is going to remind you again of the bigger picture. And it's going to help you see, okay, how can I emotionally accept what this is? How can I grow from this? How can I mature through this? And it's going to bring in the positivity and the faith of like, you know what, everything's all right. Yeah, there's shit that I got to do. There's stuff that I have to look at. But at the end of the day, everything's going to be all right. And then that Venus sextile Mars, again, really spicy in regards to love. But I would say because Venus is trining Chiron as well, and that Mars is opposing Chiron, it will bring up Chiron stuff. Chiron is the wounded healer, so it deals with our deepest wounds. And it's in regards to Aries stuff. It could be in regards to confidence, self-determination. It could be in regards to courage or bravery. It could also be your identity, or possible like your own ego's sort of wounds. And so there's an opportunity here to heal things, not only in yourself, but also in regards to relationships. The Mars opposition, though, to Chiron can bring that triggered energy, though, because that Mars in Libra is wanting to approach things from a place of diplomacy and tact, fairness and balance, harmony and peace. But that trigger point confrontation of the opposition to Chiron and Aries, it's like first having to kind of deal with our own blocks. Our own hurts, our own wounds. But it can be worked out. It can be healed. It can be addressed. It may feel uncomfortable, but that's how healing is. It's always uncomfortable at first. So we're going to go ahead here and we're going to dive deeper into the chart. So let's take a look here. All right, here we have it. September 10th, Wednesday. This forecast will be from September 10th until the 16th. This day ain't looking too hot, y'all. I'm gonna be real with y'all. This moon will oppose Mars. It's going to conjunct Chiron, and then the moon is going to come into Taurus, and then it's going to square Pluto in Aquarius. So I think this day is probably the roughest day out of this forecast. Everything else progresses and gets a lot better. But this day, can definitely bring confrontation, challenges, stress, and I'll touch more on that here in a moment. Also, this day will have the sun that's going to conjunct that South Node. So this is a day it's a big checkpoint with the South Node and the sun. It brings up a lot of things from the past. A lot of things are coming to the surface. The South Node drills into the past, right? K2 drills into the past. And sometimes drilling into the past, we can discover good things from the past. But while we're also drilling into the past, we're also discovering not so much of things that are good. And so the things that aren't good need to be let go of. And maybe the things that are good, you move forward with. And when it comes to Virgo rules the practical side of the intellect. So it deals with how we practically approach things. Virgo deals with management. It deals with organization. It can deal with work, service, your duty, your schedule. Virgo's Earth, so it deals with the physical reality of things and the practical approach to the physical reality and organization. And so this energy can be overwhelming as we kind of have this Mercury here that's combusting the sun. Although Mercury's in its home sign, the combustion isn't as intense, but it can still accelerate the mind, or it can really bring out that Virgo energy that we're letting go of at this time with the sun being in South Node. We're letting go of the old ways of doing things, like I've been saying. It's like letting go of the old ways of doing things, letting go of the old routine, of the old schedule, of the way you've been operating. Whatever isn't fitting anymore, just whatever isn't working, it's okay to let those things go. It can be very overwhelming, possibly stressful. But the good thing is that this sun is starting to sextile Jupiter. It's a degree away. So that Jupiter is coming into the picture here to give us relief, emotional relief. It's like emotional relief here, Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter brings positivity and growth and optimism, and it also brings faith and trust that everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be all right. It's going to remind us of the bigger picture, to stay positive, and how we can emotionally accept too, that not everything is perfect, not everything is going to be perfect. But it's through the adjustments that we're going to continuously make during this Virgo season that we'll be able to purify things and clean things up. And so I like that sextile to Jupiter. Mercury's getting pretty close to that as well. Mercury and the Sun will both sextile that Jupiter, which I'll talk more about here in a second. But this is about emotionally accepting that not everything's perfect. And also this is about Jupiter. Jupiter deals with wisdom and growth, and with it being in Cancer, it's emotional growth, emotional wisdom, right? Maturity. It's like, how can we learn and grow from everything that we're experiencing at this time? How can we see the positive? Maybe there is positive things here. But the shadow side and where we can self-sabotage in Virgo is we become too negative, or we become too hyper-fixated and critical, and we get too caught up in all the little details, and we just let go of the magic that can happen with that North Node being in Pisces. Because if the Sun is conjunct the South Node, well, the North Node is opposing the North Node. It's like that North Node being in Pisces, it's the pull to create and establish a better future for ourselves. And with it being in Pisces, it's about the more ideal future for yourself. That's in alignment with your soul's desires. I see this as the manifestation nodes, right? The North Node being in Pisces is like, this is what I want to manifest. But the South Node in Virgo is like, okay, well, here's the assignment, right? Like, here's the assignment. Go to work on the assignment and trust that the assignment will bring your manifestation. You have to remember that the ruling planet of Pisces is Jupiter. It is Neptune as well, but it's also Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of faith. When you have faith and you yield to the divine, and you trust that the little details of things will be able to be worked out, or you just don't get caught up in all the little details of things, the bigger manifestation can arrive. The bigger thing can happen. But I would say here, this is definitely a day with the Sun being on the South Node, and then we have the Moon opposing Mars and Chiron. This is going to bring some shit up. This is going to bring some things up with relationships, right? Because Libra rules relationships. Aries rules your sense of self, your own freedom, your own way of doing things. And so this could be confrontational in regards to relationships, feeling like things aren't fair, feeling like your needs aren't being met here. It could be things with codependency. And so we have to get brutally honest with ourselves with this Moon conjunct Chiron. Where is it that we need to heal things in ourselves? Whether it's confidence, whether it's courage, bravery, strength, being able to stand on your own 2 feet, assert your independence, but in a way in which is coming from a place of diplomacy and tact, and not coming from this wounded ego with this Moon conjunct Chiron. Because this is going to bring some shit up. This is not the hottest day. This Moon that's going to come into Taurus will square that Pluto and Aquarius. And so then when the Moon comes into Taurus, it's about us becoming emotionally fixated on our own values. And then that Pluto being Aquarius, it deals with other people, groups, communities, or just the things that we're connected to on a larger level. So this can bring up things in regards to money, resources, finances, your values, other people's values in regards to relationships, struggles with money in regards to relationships. It can bring all that stuff up here. It's just not allowing yourself to become emotionally unglued when this Moon comes into Taurus this day and squares Pluto, because this can bring up a lot of volatile emotions, a lot of deep repressed emotions. So it's how you really move forward. I feel here with this Mars being in Libra, it's like, how can you approach conflict and how can you approach resolution through diplomacy and tact and figuring out a balanced and fair way to do things? I know it just got a little intense, but I'm just channeling the energy, right? Like, this is probably going to be one of those days. And remember, with that Sun being on the South Node, it's like all this stuff is coming up. This could be too, maybe you're holding yourself back from connection too, right? That Mars in Libra is more operating in a space of relationships and, pairing with other people and stuff to do with other people. But that Moon in Aries conjunct that Chiron Aries, it can be your own wounded ego that could be blocking it. Now, also too, this can be other people as well. So you have to just be able to see, like, is this me or is this the external thing that I'm dealing with. But healing can happen here when we emotionally accept, like, okay, let me put my pride to the side. Let me get my, my wounded ego out the way. Where is it that I need to heal, or maybe where I need to accept things, or where I need to understand that, this is possibly just what I need to heal and what I need to address, so that way I can get back into that space of peace and harmony. But that sun that's going to be sextiling Jupiter here, there's positivity and there's growth here. This is emotionally accepting and growing and maturing. This could be things related to family as well, because Cancer rules the family. It could be things with your home life, personal life. Cancer also rules your inner world, your inner emotions, how rooted you are, the strength of that, the nourishment of that. And so all that can be nourished, all that can be expanded. There's growth and positivity here. It's just about seeing it and not, I'm gonna be real with y'all, not letting your emotions sabotage shit. That moon in Aries could throw a fit with conjunct Chiron. Trust me. And it's not allowing yourself to play the victim. It's also being able to see where other people are playing the victim as well, where they're not willing to emotionally accept what needs to be accepted in order to heal themselves, so that way balance and fairness can happen, or peace or harmony can happen. So let's go to the next day here. The next day, let's take a look. All right. Now this day is a lot better. September 11th, Thursday, this day's a lot better. This moon's going to be making good aspects this day. Moon's going to sextile the North Node. Moon's going to trine Mercury. The moon's going to trine the Sun. The moon's going to sextile Jupiter. All right, this is a good positive day. This Mercury as well will be conjuncting the South Node this day too. So we just had the Sun conjunct that South Node. Now we're having Mercury conjunct the South Node. They're both conjuncting the South Node, right? So the theme is the same. The theme is the same. We're building up to that kazmi. That kazmi is actually on the 12th. And so as there's sort of this friction with the mind and clarity that's trying to come into our consciousness, right? The Sun is our consciousness, our awareness, and Mercury is our intellect, our mind. And so that Mercury is aligning with our consciousness to give us clarity. Also, Mercury is the messenger, so this could be like fated communication or divine, whatever. It's fated, right? It's divinely guided with Mercury conjunct the Sun. It brings answers, it brings clarity. And again, with that sextile to Jupiter, this is about, okay, whatever the answer is, whatever the clarity is that we're getting, is allowing for us to see the bigger picture and to be able to accept that bigger picture and to accept maybe the past and figure out a way in which we can grow and expand beyond that, to create a life that has more comfort, brings more nourishment, more emotional support, more emotional maturity, more growth, more positivity, where we can find the faith and the trust again that although our current reality and although our where we're at in life right now, maybe it's not ideal, but it's about, okay, we can still be positive as we go through this and manage things and shift things and adjust things and figure things out. That Jupiter is still forming that loose trine to the North Node. So remember the last horoscope that I did last week, there's still the bigger, Jupiter's trine that North Node in Pisces is, you can still visualize your future. You can still manifest the future. It's just like when we become hyper fixated on all the little details of things. This is, what this reminds me of? It's like trying to find all the fucking right words to say when really it's not. It's just about being real and authentic and coming from that heart space of Pisces. But when we're too caught up in, well, it needs to look like this, it has to be this way, it has to come out this way. It's like we get so caught up in all these little things that we lose. It just sabotages shit, basically. So, I know I'm a little animated in this reading, but yeah, that's what I see that as. But the good thing, we got good energy this day though. This moon that's going to be in Taurus is going to, where the hell am I at? This moon sextile the North Node here this day in Taurus. Now I want to back up really quick because some people have asked me for the times, specifically when the lunar transits. Like you want to be more precise with the times. So I'm just going to give you the time so you know when to expect the energy that will pop up, right? September 10th, the previous day, that moon will oppose Mars at 1:53 a.m. Central Time. The moon will conjunct Chiron retrograde at 9:10 a.m. Central Time. And then the sun will just be opposing the sun will be conjuncting the North Node all day. So most people will be asleep. This is Central Time. Most people will probably be asleep during this time, although in the morning, maybe not much so, because the moon will be conjunct Chiron. But you just have to adjust it to your time zone. So sometimes it's like you'll just sleep through these transits. It just depends on where you're at in the world. I understand everybody is all over the place. So, and that moon will come into Taurus at 3:04 p.m. and that moon will square Pluto in Aquarius at 5:42 p.m. Central Time. This is Central Time. So you just have to correlate it to your time zone. But this day, we'll have the moon here that's going to sextile the North Node. This will be at 9:15 p.m. Central Time. It'll sextile that North Node in Pisces. And then we're going to have the moon that's going to trine Mercury as well at the same time. And the moon that's going to also, it's going to be trining that sun in Virgo. And the moon's also going to be sextiling this Jupiter in Cancer. So this is all pretty much happening at the same time. The moon's going to sextile the North Node at 9:15 p.m. 9:18 p.m. Moon's going to trine Mercury 11:29 p.m. Central Time. The moon's going to trine the sun. And the moon's going to sextile Jupiter also at the same time. So talk about an emotionally positive day, to where we're going to be in a more positive emotional space. With this moon being exalted here in Taurus, the moon loves Taurus. We can really find our comfort, our grounding, nourishment, connect back to the things that we treasure and that we value, find the beauty, the pleasure, the joy. So I'm going to touch base here on this Mercury conjunct the South Node, but I already pretty much touched base on it. It's pretty much the same thing as what I was already explaining. But this moon here, oh man. This moon's going to trine Mercury. So this moon in Taurus will trine Mercury here in Virgo. This is when your emotions are getting on the same page as your mind, your thoughts. And so it's a good time to write, to communicate, to also with the moon being in Taurus, Mercury being in Virgo, good time for understanding things when it comes to finances, resources, when it comes to what you want to create. That's beautiful. How you want to organize things, how you want to manage things, how you want to perfect things. And this moon also will be trining that sun. So it's like our soul is getting on the same page as our emotions. So anytime I see the moon trine the sun, it's just this harmonious energy that can be tapped into at any point. Specifically when it comes to how we manage, like I said, money, our resources, possessions, understanding how we can create emotionally from a space that brings in more nourishment, sorry, that's my dog, he knocked the camera. Brings in more nourishment, or that grounds us, helps us find the joy, the beauty, the creativity, the art, just the harmony with things. And this moon will also sextile Jupiter here as well. So emotional positivity and growth and expansion, and being able to really find the comfort here this day. This is a very good day emotionally with the moon, while this Mercury is conjuncting that South Node with that sun, basically. So even though we're going through eclipse season, right, like this is a good day for us to get organized, to find emotional balance, emotional harmony, emotional alignment. And this sun is, it's still sextiling that Jupiter. So there's the positivity and the growth and the emotional accepting of things, and being able to I see this as just being able to be okay with things emotionally, and understand that you can grow through all of this. Growth can happen from everything that has happened in the past, with the sun being here at the South Node. So let's go to the next day, my friends. September 12th. September 12th. Here we go. This day we're going to have the moon that's going to square Venus. That'll be at 1:59 a.m. Central Time. Sun sextile Jupiter exactly today at 2:30 a.m. We're going to have the moon sextile Saturn at 3:13 p.m. Mercury that's going to sextile Jupiter exact at 4:53 p.m. And the moon that will enter into Gemini. There's a lot going on. We got the moon sextile Neptune, moon conjunct Uranus, moon trine Pluto. This is also a pretty badass day in my opinion. Now, the first thing, just depending on where you live, is that moon that's going to square Venus. But before I get to the moon transits here, this Mercury as well is also starting to sextile Jupiter. So the sun and Mercury are now sextiling Jupiter. And that Mercury is basically starting to form its kazmi. So this is when the clarity will probably start to hit here. You'll start to understand things more deeper. There'll be more answers here to the things that you've been thinking about, possibly even revelations as well. And again, with Mercury being here, sextile Jupiter, it's like our mind being able to see the bigger picture, our intellect being able to understand things, possible information that we've been missing, or the larger picture that we've been failing to see. It's like now we're starting to be able to see those things. And we can start to emotionally adjust again and accept, that we're going through change, that we're in the middle of eclipses. Things could be stressful, things could be overwhelming, but it's about finding the positivity and the emotional space of, things are going to be all right. And this moon today, being in Taurus, it's going to square Venus at first, right? It's going to square this Venus in Leo. So this could bring up your happiness and also like your values clashing. Like Venus deals with what you want to receive. It can deal with relationships and like that too, but it's like what you want to receive. Venus being in Leo is like receiving things and creating things from the heart space. It can deal with your happiness. And so your desire for what you want could clash with your sense of security or your values. But I don't know. I kind of don't see this as a bit of like, even though this is a square, I don't really see this transit as like, oh my God. It's more so just like, okay, I desire this, but emotionally, I got to figure out how I can get that need fulfilled. It's like Venus and Leo wants to have fun, express, create. But that moon in Taurus is where our emotional needs or our emotional values are being blocked in some way from receiving that fully emotionally. But the good thing about lunar transits, like I say all the time when I do my reads, is that they last about 3 hours max, or 4, but really 2 hours, in my opinion, the way I've experienced them, 2-3 hours. But this moon this day will sextile Saturn here in Pisces. And it's also going to, we'll talk about that first. The moon will come into Gemini. But this moon will sextile Saturn. Moon in Taurus, sextile Saturn in Pisces. I like this. I've always liked the moon in Taurus. That's always sextile Saturn when Saturn was in Pisces. Because Saturn deals with endurance. It deals with longevity. Saturn deals with responsibility, obligations, and it deals with work and being accountable for things. And so when the moon sextiles it, you find this emotional rhythm of endurance and focus and concentration, and you being able to find the flow state and to like emotionally become anchored. So I love seeing moon sextile Saturn, because if you want to do work, it's a good time to do work where you can do deep work, deep inner work, or just deep work in general, because there's just this consistent endurance of rhythm with the moon and your emotions. So it can feel very grounding. This can ground things a lot here. Now this moon will come into Gemini here. And I'm just going to fast forward this transit. This moon will come into Gemini. Let's take a look at that. And as soon as it comes into Gemini, it's going to conjunct Uranus. This moon's going to conjunct Uranus. It's going to sextile Neptune, and it's also going to trine Pluto. So anytime this moon conjunct Uranus, expect the unexpected emotion. I like when the moon conjuncts Uranus because it does bring excitement. Possibly you wanting to try something new, or just something new happening out of the blue, out of nowhere. Could even be communication for a lot of you, right? Or just information or news, or the clarity really hits because remember that kazmi is still happening. And, also one of the rulers of Mercury is Gemini. So this deals a lot with communication, information, news, clarity of the mind. Even more revelations, right? That with that moon conjunct Uranus that you didn't see, or that just a shift in regards to, a shift in regards to your awareness here. Also, it can be very inspiring too, because this moon's going to sextile Neptune. This can be very inspiring. So it's important to really lean into your intuition, your creative energy, your imagination. Because this moon's going to trine Pluto, so this can also bring, like a deep focus and concentration, and it can bring a deeper transformation, a deeper understanding, deeper revelations, emotional insights, emotional breakthroughs with this moon conjunct Uranus, trine that Pluto. That will actually help you unshackle yourself from anything that, you've been wanting to sort of like release or find a different way of doing things. But a lot of y'all be using ChatGPT around this time. Every time I've experienced the Uranus and Gemini, Pluto, Aquarius energy, stuff with AI, probably be on ChatGPT. It's technology, right? Also, the Gemini, Aquarius energy can be very social as well. So this can bring a very social energy too. So yeah, that's what we got for this day here. Let's go ahead and go to the 13th. Yeah, expect, emotional breakthroughs, maybe some unexpected information, unexpected communication, unexpected news, or just a breakthrough in clarity that sparks deeper transformation, that allows for you to be able to let go of certain things or just to understand more things here. Also, it can be very inspiring as well with that moon that's going to sextile Neptune. So it can be a very creative energy here as well that comes through. Stuff to do with socializing, technology, AI. So, all right, my friends, let's keep going. Let's go to the next day here, the 13th. We got it. All right. All right, 13th, this is the day of the kazmi, where Mercury will conjunct the sun right here. So boom, there it is. So this is when the clarity really hits and the answers here really come through. And it's still forming that loose sextile here. It's still a sextile. It's a degree and a half away from Jupiter. So there's still the bigger, larger picture that you're able to see that provides you with emotional comfort, faith, trust, and optimism. That again, I keep hearing the message here that things are all right. Things are all right. And it can reveal to you that things are better than what you expect as well. Because Jupiter allows for you to see the larger picture, and with it being in Cancer, it allows for you to see things from a more larger picture emotionally and from a mature picture. And then this day, the only lunar transit that we got is the moon that's going to square the nodes. And so this can bring some emotional pressure, right? It's like that moon in Gemini is really trying to search for truth and clarity, when it comes to certain things. And so that kazmi that's happening this day, it's like, yes, we're getting clarity and these deeper answers and these possible breakthroughs and a deeper understanding with things. The moon, though, that can square the nodes this day can still feel, it can bring up, like whatever comes up, whatever the clarity is that you get with this moon in Gemini, it's like, okay, how can I emotionally adjust to this? But when it's squaring the nodes, it's how do I emotionally adjust to this so that I can align here with the more ideal future that I want with this North Node being in Pisces. So you're gonna have to lean more into your intuition when it comes to things and not being overly critical or overly practical or cynical. It's like, go with the flow, trust your intuition. You've gotten the answers here, you've gotten clarity. Just allow for things to settle emotionally whenever that moon squares the nodes. All right, let's go to September 14th, Sunday. This is a busy day too. We're going to have We got the moon that's going to square the sun today, the moon that's going to square Mercury, moon that's going to sextile Venus, moon that's going to trine Mars, moon that's going to sextile Chiron. This is a busy day. Moon squares Saturn, moon enters Cancer, and the moon squares Neptune. Okay, there's a lot of squares this day, but there's also a lot of trines and sextiles. A lot of trines and sextiles here. So it's kind of a mixed day, I would say. So, by the way, I'll put down below, I'll put the transits for the day and the times. So that way, if I miss saying the times when I'm talking about the transits, you'll know. Right? It'll be in the description. So, let's take a look here. We're going to have this moon here in Gemini that's going to square the sun. It's going to square Mercury. You know, this can bring a lot of mental tension. Not everything needs to be perfect. Remember, with this moon in Gemini, square this sun and Mercury here in Virgo. So I guess we're operating from a practical place with this Virgo energy. But it's about digesting the information and assimilating it as best as we can. And maybe there's going to be some errors or typos, or maybe things aren't going to look 100% perfect. But that's all right. Not everything needs to be perfect. It's corrections that we're going to have to make based upon the new information with things. But not everything needs to be perfect. This can also create a very hypercritical energy as well when it comes to things. So try not to allow yourself to become hypercritical, and so you can be aware of other people being hypercritical as well. Because that moon in Gemini is trying to adjust based off information, based off what you're thinking, based off information, clarity, what you're thinking, truth, communication. But that Sun Mercury is like, okay, how do I assimilate or communicate this or digest this? And so it can bring a little bit of a friction and challenge, but you just work through it. It's not going to be perfect, probably. If you were writing a paper this day, you'll probably look back and be like, damn, I made a lot of fucking typos, or damn, I didn't even see that, or I missed that little detail, or whatever the case might be. But this moon as well, it's going to be sextiling Venus here in Leo at the same time. Right, it's going to come off that square to the Sun and Mercury, then it's going to sextile Venus and Leo. So we can get back into that lightheartedness and that wittiness, right? Because Gemini is the lighthearted, curious, emotional energy, and Venus being here in Leo deals with fun, play, creativity, puns, right? Puns is definitely a Gemini Leo thing. And then this moon is going to trine Mars as well at the same time. So we got this moon sextile Venus, and then this moon that's going to trine Mars. You can find that emotional motivation, that intrinsic motivation here to, communicate in regards to relationships. Moon in Gemini, Mars in Libra, and that Venus in Leo, or to express from our heart, or to correct things in our life, or to rebalance things in our life, bring more harmony, more joy into our life, approach things from a diplomatic, peaceful place. Because this Venus is also starting to sextile that Mars in Libra. So a lot with relationships. This is going to bring up communication, emotional communication in relationships. And so this can be a clash at first with things, with this moon that's going to be squaring that Virgo energy. Right? But it's just about, not taking things too serious, being lighthearted, having fun, being playful, right? And staying in that equilibrium here and moving forward in a diplomatic, fair, balanced, harmonious, peaceful way. Right? There's with this Venus that's trining Mars, catching Mars here. It's like this gives a lot of creative energy to where you're going to want to create and express yourself. Mars, Venus deals with our sexuality, right? So it's our sexuality, our sense of our self-expression, but also things with relationships and other people, right? So this is about finding the harmony and the balance and the connection in regards to our relationships, our needs, what it is that we want to do, how we want to move forward. Cooperation looks good here. It's playful energy here. It's positive energy here. And this is about allowing yourself to be positive and playful and yeah, and move, like create peace, like have, like create beautiful, harmonious things. This moon, though, will also sextile Chiron. And so this can bring up the Chiron energy here, too, with this moon in Gemini. You know, Chiron Aries, it's our wounds, right? Things that we need to heal, things that need healing. So this can be, you know, confidence. Aries, like I said, it can be like your own self-determination or drive or courage, things related to identity and ego. So it's about how can we integrate that emotionally and understand it, and possibly even talk about these things as well, with the moon being in Gemini, sextile that Chiron, while, you know, Venus is starting to sextile Mars. So communication is everything this day. Communication is everything this day, specifically with that Mercury kazmi here, with the Sun and Mercury. And that moon will square Saturn too, a little bit later on. And so confusion can arise. This moon in Gemini, you know, it operates based upon what it knows. And when it hits Saturn in Pisces, Pisces is, well, hold on, there's more here to be aware of. So it can bring confusion or possibly delays. It can bring actual delays, or it can just bring confusion, delays, or it can bring up some sensitivities. But it's about understanding what those are and not letting those block you emotionally. You may need time to contemplate and think and meditate with that moon being in Gemini on your thoughts or on situations, but, you know, yeah, allow yourself to do that. This is a pretty deep horoscope. I feel like I'm kind of a little bit serious with this one. There's good energy, but there's just so much going on this week. And I can give you, you know, each transit and what it means, but when it actually comes down to the astrology and all of it's blended together, that's the thing, it's blended together. And so there's this energy here, but then there's also maybe this thing that's going on here. And so when you understand all angles of everything, you're able to see and understand, okay, I get where all this is coming from, why I'm possibly feeling this, why this is happening, and you can work with that energy. But if I was just to go each transit, like here's what to expect, here's what to expect, you don't see the blend of it. And life is complexity. So that moon will square Saturn, and then this moon will come into Cancer, and this moon will square Neptune. Now, again, I'm going to leave the times down below if you want to know the times of these transits. Like I said, moon transits, you know, you start to feel them pretty, you know, you feel them like the timing of it's like when you start to really feel it. So, like for instance, the moon squares Saturn at 5:46 p.m. Central Time. You'll probably start feeling it around like 4 or something, or it could be 3. It just depends on how sensitive you are, right? But when it gets to that time exact, it's like that energy starts to arise. So maybe it's like sometimes you won't notice either. Also, depending on your chart, even though the moon could be square Saturn, maybe the moon's trine your Mars. And so it's complexity with astrology. So you have to understand your chart, you have to understand the forecast and how that all is being woven together. But the forecast can just help in general by giving you just, you know, what's going on. But this moon that's going to come into Cancer, it's going to square that Neptune. And every time I've seen this is that moon square Neptune can always bring a fog and blurriness. But the way I've always seen this is like when the moon squares Neptune in Aries, it's almost in a way you get sucked into a fog of possible like anger or frustration or trying to like ram things through, right? Because Aries rules the ram. And with this moon being in Cancer, it's definitely a very emotionally sensitive. And that square to Neptune is like, this can be emotional, like projections that can create like frustrations. Like you can be blinded by your own anger or blinded by your own illusions of things. So you want to have discernment with this moon in Cancer square that Neptune in Aries. It's like not to allow yourself to become triggered based upon like sensitivities, or to just like assume or believe something is happening and then like just get sucked into that illusion. It's like you got to have discernment. Not all is what it seems when the moon squares Neptune. And what I wrote here is basically feelings blur with fantasy, risking confusion, or it can bring inspiration as well. So, but the squares are always a little bit difficult with this, with the squares to Neptune. So it's an interesting day. It's a complex day. It's a complex day. All right, let's go here to the 15th. Not much is going on this day except for that Venus that's going to trine or sextile Mars. So this is the exact day where Venus will be sextile Mars. Right? Passion is going to be flowing between desire and action. There's the harmonious integration of it. Right? This can fuel attraction. You can be finding yourself looking more attractive or other people are looking more attractive. It also brings in harmony. It can bring in peace and cooperation in relationships, getting on the same page in regards to relationships, being able to receive what you want to receive and also being able to flow where you want to go. And like I said, this Mars being in Libra, Libra deals with relationships. It deals with fairness and balance. Venus and Leo can deal with, Leo deals with romance, and Venus again deals with relationships as well. And so this is going to bring up possibly a lot in regards to relationships. It's a good energy, though, to connect, to cooperate, to work together, right? Passion and desire, attraction, magnetism. Also, when it comes to yourself, creativity, right? Mars being the masculine, Venus being the feminine. It's the integration woven together that creates the whole, right? And so there's this creative energy, this creative force that flows through. So, and this moon will be in Cancer, but it's not going to make any aspects this day. It's not going to make any aspects this day based upon like how I got it. So let's go to the next day in regards to where I live, in regards to the time. Let's go to September 16th, the last day here. The last day. So that Venus was, again, it's sextiling Mars, but it's also trining Chiron. And remember Mars, like I was saying in the very beginning of this reading, that Mars is opposing Chiron. So Chiron deals with our wounds. Now Venus is trining this Chiron. So this is about finding empowerment. Like this Venus in Leo wants to create and connect from that heart space. And Aries itself can deal with empowerment and confidence and self-determination. So it's about finding that empowerment and not letting like your wounds of things block things. This is a good time to be able to integrate where you have felt disempowered possibly in your relationships or in regards to yourself when it comes to your self-worth or self-esteem or your creativity or the creative approach to things. This can be very healing. This Chiron that's opposed Mars here, you know, this is where the trigger is going to be though, because that Mars is going to provoke that Chiron. Now, Venus is sextiling Mars, so there's cooperation, there's integration that is happening. But I would say, I'm going to be real with this, that because Aries and Leo deal with individuality and sense of self, this energy can be somewhat selfish. Like that Mars in Libra is wanting to push forward and find the fairness and the balance of things, but that opposition to Chiron can bring up where our ego could be blocking things or where other people's ego could be blocking things. Like we can find empowerment and connection and creativity and expression, whether it's relationships with inside yourself, but it's just not allowing the old wounds of things to block that from happening with this Chiron being in Aries. It's about understanding, okay, where can I find healing and empowerment here? So that way I can show up in a more fair, balanced way with this Mars being in Libra. So there can be peace and there can be harmony. And there is supportive energy with this transit this day. This last day, there's a lot going on here in regards to the moon as well. This moon here that's going to be in Cancer is going to trine the North Node. Oh wait, am I seeing this right? Yeah, it's going to trine the North. It's going to trine the North Node. It's going to conjunct Jupiter. So there's emotional positivity, growth and expansion, emotional maturity, optimism, and a feeling of trust and faith that, okay, this is positive. Trying the North Node, okay, I'm feeling where the future is going here and where things are expanding into. But also at the same time, this moon, and yeah, that's how it is at first, but then this moon will, move through the day. It's going to square Chiron, and so here it is again, this energy, because remember, Mars is opposed Chiron, and now this moon is squaring Chiron, and it's squaring Mars. So this is creating a T-square, and everything is being balanced on this moon. How do we emotionally hold space in a mature way without allowing our wounds to block emotional connection with this moon square Mars in Libra? This can be quite frustrating. This can deal with relationship needs, or this can just deal with your own needs and not feeling like things are fair, things are balanced. It's just like, okay, you can still come from a place of maturity, right? Cancer is the mature emotion. So you come from a place of maturity, and maybe it is about communicating what it is that you need. Right? Maybe it is about communicating what it is that you need, or understanding what it is that you need, or just understanding maybe where things are unfair, but it's about you can it's how you, with that moon in Cancer, how you adjust to those emotions that come up, and not letting yourself get triggered here with this square to Chiron. This is where people can play the victim. This is where possibly you can play the victim, right? Just feeling like just things aren't fair. And that moon squared to Mars is going to just fuel that even more, so, you just can't let that shit boil over. It's going to bring a triggering energy. But you can't just you don't let it boil over. This is where, people can throw temper tantrums, or people can get pissed off. Or there's arguments, or there's, fights, or whatever, But that moon here is also sextiling the sun, and it's also sextiling Mercury. So it's about how you communicate and articulate your emotions in a practical, useful, efficient way to clear things up, to adjust things emotionally. So that way, you can work through this Mars opposed Chiron, and, this moon that's squaring Chiron, that's squaring Mars. There's a way to, it comes down to communication. And not only communication, but practically finding solutions. There's an opportunity to do that. But, this moon can be still fueled by that Chiron, and still fueled by that Mars, to where it can bring up, anger, frustration, turbulence. But it's how you communicate, how you adjust to the emotions, how you manage those emotions. And that's what's going to help you through. And that moon will also trine Saturn. So it's at first, it can bring up a lot, but then as the moon progresses, it's going to trine that Saturn. You'll start to find that compassion, right? Because Saturn being in Pisces deals with compassion. Saturn teaches a lesson of compassion and empathy and selflessness, and being able to yield and relax with that moon trine Saturn, being able to find I can relax. Let me not get so worked up about this. Let me find the peace. Let me find the inner stillness with this. And that's pretty much it for the day, y'all. That's it for the forecast here. It's a very interesting week. Very interesting week. And I want to say one more thing on this, because I'm just noticing this now. That this Mars in Libra is in conjunct this Saturn in Pisces. It's a loose in conjunction, but this could just be also bringing into focus maybe subconscious, unconscious blocks, like being aware of your subconscious, unconscious blocks, or helping other people become aware of their subconscious, unconscious blocks. That's stopping you or other people from seeing the full, bigger picture of things. So, all right, y'all. That is what I got here for this week. I would say, all in all, to summarize this week, again, it starts off maybe a little bit rocky. A lot of things coming to the surface with that Sun conjunct the South Node, but clarity that's arriving with the kazmi. And the sextile to Jupiter, it's about understanding like things are going to be all right, right? There's emotional positivity and growth that can happen as we're going through this eclipse season. We can find the growth and the expansion. We can find the positivity. We can start to tap into having more faith and trust that, okay, there's a bigger picture here that's unfolding, and we have to keep the bigger picture here in mind. And how can we emotionally grow through this? How can we emotionally mature through this? Because really, I see this Jupiter being in Cancer as emotional maturity. It's emotional maturity, right? And through emotional maturity, we can find more nourishment. We can create more nourishment for ourselves, get into that consistent rhythm of happiness and joy, find that security, find that comfort. When we're in that space of emotional maturity, we know how to address things that are personal when it comes to our family life, personal life, home life, and being able to create and root ourselves into something that is nourishing and that is strong at its core. And that gives us the strength to be able to be positive, be optimistic, to have trust, to have faith. And also this week could be bringing the gift of healing things when it comes to relationships. And also when it comes to your own sense of self-worth and finding that empowerment and, letting go of the old wounds when it comes to your ego or your identity or your sense of self or just your old, just things that you may kind of feel very personal about. It's like you can start to heal those things and integrate those things. So that is what I got for y'all this week. I look forward to doing next week's or next forecast here. I don't know if y'all can hear, like my dog's been snoring. He's knocked out. Yeah. So I'll put that link down, or I'll put it in the comments, all the transits and the days and stuff like that. So that way, for the ones that want to know, it'll be there. Well, what else was I going to say? But yeah, a lot of clarity coming. There's answers here coming that's going to remind you of the bigger picture. You'll be able to find the faith and the positivity and the optimism if you choose to, or you can choose to focus on the negative and be cynical and bitter, right? But I'm pretty sure none of you want to do that. And this will also bring in a lot of emotional acceptance and growth and just understanding that things are going to be better things are going to turn out better than you expect. Things will be okay. So, all right. I appreciate everyone for being here. If you like the video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe. A lot of you come from my other channel. I do see that. And I got 50% of people that have subscribed and 50% of people that are unsubscribed that watch. So subscribe. Help me hit 5,000 subscribers. I don't know if I think I'm pretty close to 5,000, but y'all help me hit 5,000 subscribers. Anyways, I appreciate everyone, and I will see you all in the next forecast.